We're diving into the wild world of Reddit's Am I the Asshole? And those judgment-filled gems that make you question humanity, or at least your own moral compass. So grab your pickaxe, settle in, and get ready for some pixel-perfect storytelling, because some of these confessions, yeah, they hit harder than a creeper at night.
I'm dating Tim, a widower. He's in banking, I'm a bartender. I know what it looks like. His 2 daughters thought the same thing, but he's broke as a joke, and I've got a trust fund. So actually, no. He's broke because his late wife got cancer. 3 times. He ran up 6 credit cards, second mortgage on the house, cashed out his retirement, everything and anything to get her the treatment she needed, and then to get treatment enough to see both daughters married. His daughters live 6 hours away. We drove to them for Christmas last year and the year before. They ignored me, dragged Tim away when he tried to include me, and prevented their husbands from making even small talk with me by talking over me. Year 1. Tim chastised them. They apologized. To him, not me. They blamed the pain of seeing their dad with a woman who wasn't their mom. Year 2. They did it again. This year I told Tim not again. He could go. I would never ask him not to see his daughters for Christmas. But I'll stay here. Tim didn't love the idea, because me going with him means we can share the responsibility of driving when his back starts to bother him. He hates to fly. His 2010 death trap is starting to go anyway, so I leased him a comfy luxury ride. My brother has a dealership. He called the girls, super excited that he'd be able to see them more often without having to worry about his back, who then blew up and accused him of spending their mother's money on a bullshit house and car to impress some bimbo bartender and didn't offer them a dime for their weddings. In the ensuing argument, it came out that they assumed there had been a life insurance policy, and they did not have any idea about the credit card debt, or the second mortgage, that the house was underwater, or that Tim was looking at foreclosure and bankruptcy until he moved in with me. They did not realize it was my house, that he pays no bills save the water bill, man takes excessive showers, and shared groceries. Now the girls want my number. They are sorry I felt lonely at Christmas. They want to come visit and stay with us next year. Conveniently in summer, I live near a beach. I've told Tim absolutely not about giving out my number. I'm happy to be polite if they come to visit. Tim, but we're not going to be friends. If they had talked to me for even 2 seconds, they'd have understood. I am not shy about admitting the only thing I have ever contributed to my blessed financial state is not developing a crippling coke addiction, like my cousin did. Tim thinks I'm being too unforgiving. They would have warmed up to me eventually, but knowing how generous I am being with their father has made them warm up quicker. I maintain I don't care about now or later. They had their chance to not be catty brats over incorrect assumptions that I was taking advantage of him. Am I the asshole?
My wife was a corporate lawyer and mediator. She had some very nice work clothes. She was diagnosed with ovarian cancer and was gone in 2 years. The last 6 months of her life were hell. My sister Sarah didn't do jack shit for us while she was dying. My wife never liked her. I do not like her. She is a selfish cow. At my wife's wake, she started asking about my wife's clothes, and I brushed her off. She wanted to pick out a few pieces to remember my wife by, and I ignored her. It's been 6 months, and I've attended my mom's birthday, but I'm still not in the mood to deal with people. Then Sarah comes, asking about my wife's clothes. I told her my wife wanted me to donate them to this women's shelter, and she often helped. It will help women in need with their own court cases, court appointments, and job interviews. My sister, Sarah, said my wife was even selfish in death. I asked her what the hell did she mean, and she started going off on how my wife always thought she was better than her, and it's not fair that the clothes are going to charity and not to family. I told my sister I would rather see my wife's clothes lit on fire than on her back. My sister started crying, and my mom came over to see what was wrong. My mom told me to be easy on my sister because she was taking my wife's death hard. The absolute insanity of that coming out of my mom's mouth made me grab my gift and leave. My mom acts like I had to ruin her birthday by being melodramatic, but I cannot believe their emotional blackmail towards me over freaking clothes that they have no right to.
My husband will invite his family and friends over without telling me until that day. He then expects me to clean, run to the store, and prep and cook everything. I finally just decided to leave the house the last time he told me because I only had 4 hours until their arrival. He canceled. The thing is, his family is constantly judging and talking about each other. So when he says, it doesn't matter, they don't care, I know, and he knows. He's full of it. Also, it's not just tidying the house. We are not regularly stocked in food or drinks to have people over. When I got home, I asked what he was planning on having for dinner, and he responded, I don't know. I guess it's good that they aren't coming over anymore. Now he is sulking, saying I am the problem because I can't go with the flow. I have told him multiple times I just need a couple days' notice to get things in order. But he insists I am just difficult, uptight, and uncooperative. Am I the asshole?
I bake as a hobby, and I'm actually pretty good at it. Like I get paid under the table for weddings and baby showers, kind of good. My sister is pregnant and wanted me to make the cake for her gender reveal. Cool, no problem. I asked her to send me the info so I could prep the inside classic pink or blue filling. She says, "Oh no, I want to be surprised too. Just make it neutral for the reveal and we'll all find out together." I was like, huh? So you want a gender reveal cake with no gender revealed? She says she'll have someone email the info to me later, that someone never did. Deadline comes, and I still have no gender. So I make the cake. It's grey inside, grey outside, just full-on cement vibes. I even added little fondant clouds for effect. It still tasted great, but visually, grim as hell. The reveal day comes, they cut into it, and my sister looks pissed. Her husband is confused. People start murmuring. Then she pulls me aside like, "Why would you make it grey? That's so passive-aggressive." I calmly reminded her that no one told me the gender. I literally had no data to work with. I told her I wasn't about to guess or go full improv on someone's baby cake. Now my mum says I embarrassed her in front of the family and that I should have tried harder. Tried harder to do what? Summon the gender through vibes. So, am I the asshole for making the most neutral reveal cake in history?
I do commissioned artwork and don't discriminate against any subject unless it's racist, homophobic, otherwise hateful, or sexually disturbing. I did a commissioned art piece with Christian iconography, a beautiful ornate cross, a saint, and scripture and calligraphy. The client was happy with my work, paid me, and then asked me what my favorite scripture was. I was honest and just said, "Oh, I don't really have one, because I'm not a Christian and wouldn't really know which ones I'd like." He became upset and told me that he felt lied to because I have posted artwork of Christian subjects before, and he assumed I would be Christian. He said the art doesn't hold the same spiritual value because it wasn't made with faithful intention. I was kind of unsure of what to say. I said, "I'm sorry you feel that way, but I do artwork for everyone and I am open to doing Christian artwork because it's for the client, not me. Should I be disclosing if I don't share a certain faith when commissioned to do artwork for it? Am I the asshole?"
My husband Peter and I have been married for about 3 years. We have one child together and I was pregnant with our second. I'm Western Canadian while he is from Germany. We lived in Canada for a long time, but because of inflation moving back to Germany seemed like a better option for us. We bought a nice house in Hanover where Peter is from. The day after our flights to Germany, we all visited Peter's family. This was the second time I have seen them. The first was at our wedding. They greeted us and brought us inside of the house, fussing over my son. We had dinner, and soon we left the house, wanting to settle into our new home. We visited Peter's family often for the next few months. But I had started to realize that they would sometimes speak about me in German. They would make rude comments on my hair and makeup, question my fashion choices, and overall were just very unkind to me. They also said mean things about my pregnant belly, which I was already insecure about. I ended up talking to my husband about this. I told him that I didn't like the way that they were treating me. I said that I hated how my every choice was judged. He told me that he would talk to his family. The next time that we went to his parents' house, there were no more mean comments. For about 3 months, it was like nothing ever happened. I gave birth to a perfect baby girl that we named Lilith. Peter's family was very upset when they heard the name. If you didn't know, Lilith means ghost, or of the night. We didn't pick this name because of its meaning, but because it is a name that every girl in my family has had for many years. My middle name is Lilith, along with my mom's, my grandma's, and even my great-grandma's. For a while, I didn't visit my in-laws. I didn't want to hear them talk about how I shouldn't have named my daughter Lilith. But yesterday we saw them. Again. It was my mother-in-law's birthday. As soon as we showed up, things started to go badly. Everybody wanted to hold Lilith, which made my mother-in-law upset because people weren't paying attention to her and made me overwhelmed. I didn't want people holding her. I was going through a pretty bad postpartum depression, and it was still pretty early to see people. I let people look at her but declined when anyone asked to hold her. During dinner, I heard my sister-in-law talking to my mother-in-law in German. I heard her complaining about how she couldn't hold my baby. My sister-in-law even had the audacity to call me, and I quote, a fat, ugly, hokey addict. I turned to my sister-in-law and mother-in-law and told them off in German. I basically said that I have always known what they have said about me, but calling me names was the last straw. I also mentioned how I have known German for almost my whole life. The table instantly blew up. People were yelling at me because apparently this was all my fault. I left with Peter and we haven't talked to them since. So am I the asshole?
I have been a part of a small friend group, around 8 people total, basically since college. For some background, 2 people from the group, Susan and Greg, are just absolute leeches. Going out for lunch? Expect them to order the most expensive on. The menu then feed you some sob story about their finances and then dump half the bill on you. Last weekend, Dan, one of the people from the group, told me about a casual dinner. I told him how if Susan or Greg were there, I wouldn't be able to come. He tells me that they would be there, but I should just put my opinions aside and come just once. This is kind of where I might be an asshole. I agreed with him and told him I would be there. I show up and we all get to talking. Everyone began putting in their orders. Most of them spent about $40. There were only about 6 people there. When it gets to Susan and Greg, they both order expensive dishes, around $200. When it was my turn to order, everyone looked at me, but I just pick up the menu and point to the 4-door Miller Lite and sent the waiter away. Dan asked why I hadn't ordered anything, and all I said was that I lost my appetite. The other 2 friends got up as well to cancel their orders and just have drinks. After the main courses came out, I saw Susan and Greg picking at their food. The waiter then brings over the check. Greg then grabs the waiter and asks him to split the check 6 ways. I stand up and correct him, saying the check was to be split 3 ways. Greg looks at me confused and asks why, since we always split the bill. I reminded him that 3 of us had not eaten any food, so we would just be paying for our drinks. So basically, at the end of the night, Dan, who probably only ate around $50 worth of food, was stuck with a $146.98 check at the end. Yes, I remember the exact number. I swear I saw his jaw drop when he picked that receipt up. I slid $10 towards the check, said goodbye everyone, and walked out. The next morning, I found my phone full of texts from Greg and Susan telling me I was an asshole for not ordering any food and forcing them to pay more than they had accounted for. I honestly laughed because the stakes alone were more than what they had paid, but to each their own right. I also got a lot of messages from Dan, saying that I could have just not came instead of pulling that stunt and getting him stuck with an outrageous bill.
So there's this new Target commercial going around, where a little girl dresses as a hot dog, and it came on while my family was watching a scary movie. I am home from college for the weekend and brought my boyfriend, and my mother decided it would be hilarious to mention that she'd made me a hot dog costume as a kid, except the way she told the story. It was my request. She said that all the girls wanted to be Disney princesses, but I had asked to be a hot dog, and so she'd gone out of her way to make me that costume. This is not what happened, and I said as much. What actually happened is that I wanted to be Snow White and had told everyone, including the teachers, that I was going to be Snow White. I was obsessed with that movie as a kid, to the point where I would actually get invested in doing chores because I was cleaning up just like Snow White. My dad and I would watch that movie all the time, and I was very excited to be Snow White for Halloween, especially because my ballet studio was doing a special princess dance for Halloween, and we'd all signed up for special princess slots, and I'd shown up early with my dad the week before, so I could get to be Snow White. My mother decided that she wanted to be quirky, and that Snow White was a bad role model after I got in trouble for trying to cook dinner for my family. I was about 8, and I tried to make hot dogs, like how she made food for the dwarves in the movie, and I made a mess. My mom surprised me on the day of with this crappy hot dog suit, and told me if I didn't wear it, she'd never let me watch Snow White again. She took a million pictures. The other girls teased me for months, and it was one of the most humiliating moments of my childhood. I told the real story, and mentioned that I got through the day by pretending that she was the evil queen making me dress in rags, but the rags happened to be a garbage meat costume. She got really quiet after that, and after we left, my brother says she was crying and looking at the pictures from that Halloween. I didn't want to make my mom cry, but it's a shitty memory for me, and it felt like she was trying to humiliate me all over again in front of my boyfriend. Am I the asshole?
I graduated from high school back in December. As a gift, my parents got me a cruise. It was also for my 18th birthday. It was also a family vacation. We usually stay at all-inclusive resorts, but I have always wanted to go on a cruise. I told my parents it was different, and that if we went on excursions, we had to follow the schedule, no matter what. Well, it was a week-long cruise, and they would not head back to the ship when I said it was time to go. They were busy shopping and bargaining with the locals. I finally said that I was heading back to the ship. My mom waved me off. They missed the departure by a lot, like 45 minutes. They got a hold of me through WhatsApp. They wanted to know why I didn't get the boat to wait for them. I wanted to scream that they were not going to inconvenience 1,000 people, because 2 could not understand what a schedule was. They ended up having to fly to the next port from there, and it was expensive. They are pissed at me for leaving them behind. I don't know what I was supposed to do. They literally told me that they knew what they were doing. I wish I had never asked for this. They are making me miserable, because I left without them.
I work in a very small, technical, specific, male-dominated field. I won't give too much information on it, as I think you could easily find my identity if I did, but let's just say it's a subcategory of law. I graduated 9 years ago, for anyone wondering. The system in my country is different than in the US, so I only studied for 5 years, and am now a lawyer as well as a researcher. I publish some work here and there, but nothing too major, and no one outside of that field knows my work. Yesterday, I went to a bar with a couple of friends who introduced me to one of their friends who works in the same field as me. I was pretty excited to meet him, because it's rare to meet people who work in that field. He doesn't exactly do the same thing as I do. He's not a lawyer, but a legal advisor. But we work on the same topics, so naturally we started talking about our work. At one point, we were discussing a point on which we had different opinions, so I explained mine to him, and he replied by saying that my opinion was based on nothing, while his was based on the work of a professional. You guessed it, me. He basically started explaining my work to me, but in a completely wrong way, and missed all of my points. I asked him if he was sure that that was what the author meant, and he said that he was, because it was pretty simple, actually. For another good 20 minutes, he explained all of it to me in details, like I was a first-year law student. I didn't say anything because it was pretty funny to watch him say things that were completely wrong with so much confidence. After that, the topic changed and the night went on, but at the end of the night, right before leaving, I decided to tell him that I was actually the person that wrote the work he had quoted, and that he hadn't really understood it. He reacted very badly, and got angry, and he told me that I had manipulated him to humiliate him. He yelled at me for not saying it was my work at the beginning. I simply replied that he had embarrassed himself and left. I woke up this morning to text from my friends saying I was wrong for causing drama and tension and that I could have been nicer to their friend. I'm not sure if I'm in the wrong there. I mean, yes, I could have told him right away, but is it that big of a deal that I didn't? I'm not exactly sure. Am I the asshole?
I made a blanket for my sister-in-law Amanda. I was able to give it to her last weekend. She'd asked for it in certain colors. I didn't have any other projects on my to-do list, so I was happy to make it for her. I had most of the colors already, too, so it worked out. When I gave it to her, she was excited and she started to look it over. I figured it was to see how it was put together, since she doesn't crochet. After a little bit, she said that she loved the blanket. But she couldn't help but notice some of the little mistakes I'd made along the way. I asked her what she meant, and she pointed out some things like I'd accidentally done 1 row of striping instead of 3 for one section, I'd switched to the wrong color and threw off a pattern at some point, etc. She handed it back to me and told me that she loves my progress with it and couldn't wait to see the finished project. I told her that it was finished. She looked down at it and said that it wasn't done until it was perfect, and I'd made several mistakes that I could easily go back to correct. I was honestly dumbfounded by this. I hate the way perfectionists try to force their quirk onto others. I made this blanket for her for free out of my own free time because I love her. I told her that. She said she knows and she loves me for it, but that she wouldn't be able to use it because she wouldn't be able to focus on anything but the mistakes. I said whatever, and took the blanket back and said that if she doesn't want it, I'll keep it. She looked surprised and said that she does want it, she just wants my best work and not something half-assed. I told her that if she thinks me crocheting a whole freaking blanket and making minimal errors is half-assing it, I'd rather just keep the blanket. She's so upset with me and told me I was acting ridiculous and that it wouldn't take me long to fix it. If you know anything about crochet, you know that if I made an error on row 36 of a 11-15 row blanket, that's essentially starting over again. Anyway, am I the asshole?
And that's a wrap on today's console confession. Were our storytellers misunderstood heroes or just full-on digital jerks? Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't hold back, you never do. If you enjoyed mining through this madness, hit that like button like it owes you diamonds. And don't forget to subscribe for more judgmental joy over pixelated peace. Until next time, stay blocky, stay honest, and remember, the real creepers aren't always in the game.